Today I'm continuing with the series on lessons of life. Lessons of life. And last week the last time we looked at the fact that life has stages. I'll continue with that same theme. Life has stages. We read from 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and from verse 11, where Paul said, "When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things." And we realized that there are stages in life: childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. And each stage has its own demands. Each stage has its own desires. Each stage has its own dynamics. And today we will still consider the same theme. Paul said, "When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child, and I thought as a child." Three things. Three things. You see, Paul suggests that as we grow in life, we should be conscious of the various stages. And so, when you are a child, you may not be able to do things that adults do. But when you are an adult, you should not do things that children do. And now Paul says, look, when I became a man, I put aside childish things. What did he mean by that? Paul means that when you move from childhood to adulthood, certain things must change in your life. Number one, your communication must change. He says, "I spoke as a child," which means that as an adult, the way you speak, your communication must change. You must learn to be courteous. Your speech must demonstrate certain things like courtesy, maturity, knowledge. Your speech must demonstrate the fact that you have had training back home. Your speech must also demonstrate consideration and mastery over what you say. Your speech must contain some concerns. Stop being selfish. Because as a child, all you think of is me and me and me. But your speech must change. Your communication must change. You should start thinking of we, us, and our, and move away from the me, mine, and my. Your communication must also carry some semblance of charity. So courtesy, consideration, concern, and charity. These must reflect in your communication. Then number two, Paul says, "I understood as a child." So your understanding, your comprehension must also change. You ought to gain more understanding with your new status because you are no longer a child. Your comprehension, your understanding of issues must change to reflect your new age. When you celebrate your birthday and you add another year to your year, the way you understand things must change. You must be more purpose-oriented. You must be more people-oriented. And you must be more planning-oriented. Because the way you understand the world around you must change. This is a lesson in life. Paul said, my communication must change, my comprehension must change, and then my consideration must also change. Because he said, I thought or I reasoned as a child. The way children understand things, we know. And as I mentioned, very selfish. And so as you mature and as you become a man or an adult, you learn to give back to the society. You reflect a sense of selflessness rather than selfishness. You must also reflect a sense of sincerity, truthfulness, faithfulness, fidelity in your relationships. Those selfish sentiments must all go and give way to selflessness, to sincerity, and you must also think more of service. That is how your reasoning changes. You think about service. You think about helping people, supporting causes, and so on. Move away from the childhood situations and also reflect a sense of spirituality. As an adult, you now understand, or you should now understand your God, your Creator, and know that you owe Him some service. Draw closer to Him, learn to pray, learn to read His Word, and grow spiritually. And this will be a move away from childhood. Paul said, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. Your communication, your comprehension, and your consideration must all change to reflect the fact that you have moved on from one stage in life to another. God bless you. Barikiwe.